computer. Yeah.
All right. Farah, I'm glad that we finally met. Months,
Absolutely.
months and months of emailing going back and forth. Um, can can you pronounce your name? Farah Radwan.
Farah Abushwesha.
No, can you say Radwan?
Oh, my dad's name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he's Papa to me.
No, no, no. The thing about is, the sound, the gut, the
Oh,
ovular sound, the
Redwan.
pharyngeal Farah.
Redwan.
Radwan.
Yeah.
My best friend Khalid Mutawa, and I'm saying this to him, but I also interviewed Khalid Shamis, the Libyan filmmaker, and I forgot to ask how he would pronounce his name because Khalid,
Yeah.
most people would say Khalid, which is
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I've just learned over the years, having lived all over the place, having lived in Ireland, England, America, Australia, Europe, you just have to go with how people pronounce your name. And it's like, and it depends on their accents and what they can pronounce. So I'm just happy that people know who I am. So
yeah.
if they can spell it correctly, that's all I care about. And that's becoming as my career has evolved, my name is being spelt more and more correctly, which is the only thing you can hope for.
I think that they would pronounce it as Farah Fawcett,
Now they
the
go,
lady.
it's like Farah or Faz, or I don't know why or Faza, which is longer than Farah. Um, Fars, Farah, or Fora, and
But never Farah.
And then they go, I always know when somebody is calling me for, like, if I go to the doctors or something, or an interview for whatever, it's like they go, Farah, uh, yes, that's me.
No, every time I try to teach people how to do the ovular sounds and the pharyngeal sounds, it's do the and let's move past.
Yeah, Farah.
Uh,
I always know my
yeah,
family. I mean, when I'm around my family, it's very funny. It's like, particularly my Arabic family and my Arabic friends and my Libyan friends, and then my Libyan friends would pronounce it slightly differently to, say, my Palestinian friends, or my friends from the UAE, or it's very, but where it's telling for me is, like, you go to Dubai and people say Dubai, and everybody else goes Dubai, and
Dubai.
Dubai, and then you have Libya, or Libya, or so, you know what? I just, the fact that people even know my name now and can spell it is just a huge relief to me. I will answer to most things. And my mother usually goes through all of our names and the dead animals, because there's no pets alive still, before she gets to any more names. So, you know, I'm getting
Well,
used to it.
we'll move past it. Um, Full disclosure, it was in either late January or was it early February? It doesn't matter. I was at the art house in Tripoli. I was co-programming the cinema club, and I saw the poster of Chicken Soup with this person, this man from the Gulf countries, and directed by Farah Abushwesha. And then next to it, there's another poster with the word Lipicho and the late Radwan, your father. And I learned that it was a whole package. It's an event uh, of a book. I think he did also some paintings in there, and your short film. Now I had read a few pages on your career, but I couldn't see any of the films. Of course, I live here, and I thought, I missed this one. Move forward to a couple of years ago, I saw Irreplaceable You, not knowing that you were the co-producer.
The producer,
And
the producer. I'm not the
the
co-producer.
producer. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Okay, you will be correcting my so many of these.
As long as you don't take offense.
And up until a few weeks ago, not a few weeks ago, I think it was last week when you sent me a couple of links of your of the short films that you produced, and then I saw it was the cake party. No, it was party first,
Yeah.
and then cake, and then the ABC murders, and last but not least, hopefully, the one with Danny Houston. I love that film. The Last Photograph. Um, we will get the, respectively. We will get to the filming process of those films. But the first question I had in mind is, and I have your words here. I mean, I'm quoting you right here. Directing is a waste of time. So why did you abandon directing films?
For me, it was a waste of time. I think had I
Oh,
got,
oh my God, I was joking. There was no quote here.
no, I know
Did
I
you
could see the blank
actually, did
paper,
you actually
and
say?
I also wouldn't have said that about directing because I have so much respect for directors, and I wouldn't do their job because having directed a short story by my father, it kind of put me off directing for a long while afterwards. I mean, you kind of had to say to dad, "Yeah, dad, it was your story, but it's my film." And it's funny, that there's a battle between parent and child, and a battle between parent and child creatively is another thing entirely. And I haven't made shorts for years, and those two shorts that you cite, I mean, I've done so many features now and TV series.
No,
Um, but
let me
I'll just
finish
say
with
about those shorts because it's so important. I made those shorts to mark something. The party was about the celebration of the independence oh, excuse me, let me just put my phone on silent. Um, it was about the celebration of um, the Irish uprising, which when I was involved in the Libyan uprising was so important to mark because it took so many years of tumultuousness and the impact of of independence on society even
which
years
one again? I'm
later.
sorry.
That's the
Which
party.
film? Oh, the party. Okay,
Yeah, and
okay.
it
That was
felt
in 2016, was it?
it basically was part of a series of films that were commissioned by Screen Ireland to mark the centenary of the 1916 rising in Ireland when we got our independence from the British Empire, and after 800 years, and and everybody will tell you in Ireland it's 800 years, and it just felt so important to mark that, particularly 5 years on from the the Arab Spring and the Libyan uprising, and just to mark that and show the impact, because the film is set in 1972, but what it depicts, and it's available widely on YouTube for anyone who wants to watch it. But what it depicts is the impact of um, of troubles, of unresolved conflict that can go on for generations. And that was what it was about. It was like literally honoring honoring my great grandmother and my great grandparents who'd lived through that time. Who I knew my great grandmother, so I was very fortunate. But also just as somebody who lived through the Libyan revolution, albeit from afar, to be able to kind of show the impact of independence, not independence, but that, things live on. If we don't resolve them, they have an impact, years down the road. And that's what the division of Ireland was from the north and south, keeping Britain keeping those six counties. in the north. The problems and strife, and the division continued for decades afterwards into the 70s and 80s and 90s. And there's still trouble today. And I just, if it's unresolved, Ireland should be, a 32 county Ireland. And I just felt it was drawing on all those emotions and feelings. And it's a really powerful film, and I'm very proud of it. But I mean, I hadn't made shorts prior to that for a number of years. And it was a joy to go back and do something in 4 days and then walk away. I mean, I'm used to things now that take 6, 7, 16 weeks to shoot. So 4 days was delightful. And then,
Well, there's so much to unpack there because I will get back to my original question. But since you brought up the party, it was during the Troubles, and just for the readers who have no idea about the Troubles, is that it took place mainly in Northern Ireland. And what really caught me is that it's got nothing to do with the evil Brits. Well, they were evil, but it also had something to do within the factions, the Irish factions, because whoever committed, well, I don't want to spoil the film, but it was within Irish people in Belfast, which I really had. Oh my, the accent. I really needed some subtitle for the accent. I mean, I can understand the Dublin accent, but I remember seeing Hunger, Steve McQueen films, and there's a very long take with Michael Fassbender, and I
Liam
forgot who.
Neeson. Is it Liam Neeson? Or no, it's
No,
Liam
no,
Cunningham.
yeah, yeah, that was a long take, almost 15 minutes of
16
them going
minutes
back. 60 minutes.
in
Just
one
it's
shot.
exactly that was fucking brilliant, and I thought, oh my god, I need subtitles because I understood only 70% of that. Anyway, let's go back to chicken soup. You said you had some well, I wouldn't say issues, but what did you change from? Because
From the short story.
I've read the book twice, teenager, and
But I think, we changed it to being in an airport lounge. Because the idea of an Arab man going into
could you give an introduction about the you would tell it better what the story is about and what the film is about,
oh,
what the
so
film did
it's
different.
based on one of my dad's short stories about a blind Arab in a pub. And I felt at the time that we made it that we needed to set it in an airport rather than a pub, because it would people's disbelief would not be both on the Western side and certainly culturally, perhaps on another side, would struggle with an Arab being in a pub. Now I don't, but in traditional gowns, so that's why we felt it would be best to set it in an airport. Dad didn't have a problem with any of that. It was more that he wanted updates every minute, and I just didn't have the brain to be able to give him an update
Did you produce
every
it as
minute.
well?
Hmm?
Did you produce the film as well?
Well, kind of. I mean, when you're making shorts, you do everything. Um,
Yeah,
it's a bit of everything. It's like, you just do a lot of stuff. But he wanted constant updates, and even my mom had to get involved and tell him it's her film, leave her alone.
so I remember in the story because, as I said, I think I've read it the second time. When did I read it the second time? I think it was 10 years ago. I'm so old. Uh, and it was I don't think it was someone from the Gulf states, was it, in the story? You made him someone from the Gulf state because I
No,
do remember.
actually, Nadim Sawala, who played him, is Jordanian.
Yeah, yeah, I know. No, but was he someone from the Gulf? Because as I saw from the poster,
Uh,
or did
I
we
don't think
show
it was. I think we played Nadim for Nadim, but costume and everything else, and this is where authenticity is so important. You have British costume designers doing their best to try and get costumes that are available to them at the time, as opposed to what is authentic for the region. And it's an issue that I have as a filmmaker. I've been interviewed for many TV and film jobs. Where it's stories that I haven't originated myself, but I've been asked to come on board with. And I have to keep explaining when I go into these meetings. And funnily enough, I haven't got those jobs. Um,
Mm.
they tend to go to Westerners. But I go in and, I explain that I am half, Libyan, and authenticity is really important in accuracy. And if you are depicting a film that has Syrian people in it, or Libyans in it, or Tunisians, or Moroccans, or Egyptians, we all, there's different accents and there's different dialects and there's different, cultural differences, even in dressing. Like the Moroccans have the jalaba with the hood on it,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
it very and I've tried to explain this that it's particularly with the language, it's not a pan Arab state. It's, each one is a different country, like Europe. And as you pointed out, there's different accents between the north of Ireland, Belfast, and say Dublin. And there's another difference between Cork, and I've tried to explain that even between Egypt, and you can't just cast anyone. So with that, finding I wanted a really good actor, and the best Arabic actor of that age, other than Omar Sharif, who was dead, was Nadim Sawalha, in Britain, and he was lovely, But God, that film is now. I mean, that was 2003 we shot it, or four. So I mean,
But I think
it's over 20 years.
IMDb says it's 2006.
It's
That's
2006.
what I'm.
Oh
Yeah,
no, no,
that's what
it,
I'm.
it would have been shot in 2005 and finished and out there in 2006. It's usually a
Yeah.
year
So
before.
I'll get back to this identity at the end because it's very important, and I was planning to sketch it in my clumsy talking points before, Anyway, um, so was it a decision to was there a moment when you said I'm done with directing and I'm going to dedicate my time to producing films and assisting films? Actually, there is for those who don't know the difference between a producer and production manager, a managing producer or production manager. It depends on where you're from, and the executive producer. These three wise men. People don't know the difference. I don't want to know as much as I have read about the difference. I don't want to know. I mean, unless you do it firsthand, you never know.
Yeah.
But there was an Australian educator who once said, "My advice to anyone who wants to do anything is KBO." And the host was said, "KBO, what do you mean?" He said, "Keep banging on." So I wanted to keep banging on about seeing the film. I even wanted to force you to record the film, like you put the DVD on the screen and just record me the film. But I'll
I don't have a
again.
DVD player anymore,
Oh my God, just the DVD.
and I have the film.
Uh, That's another question. The moments when you moved from directing to producing, and the other question is, what happened to the film? Where was it screened? Why is it? Uh, it is listed in movie, but they say it's unavailable. Why is it? Let's say buried under the clouds of technology or whatever.
It's more the change in technology. So the film wasn't allowed to be online. That was contractual for many years because at the time it was before digital and platforms were the same as they were. So just twenty years ago, it was a different kind of medium and setting. So they were very strict. It went around the world. It did loads and loads of festivals. I went around the world, um, you know, escorting the film, and it was brilliant. And the fact that it reached such a wide audience was incredible for during festivals. However, the film was then on DVD. It was on DC Cam. It was on a film reel, and so we've never had a digital
Oh,
version.
you shot with film,
No,
not digital.
to screen the film, you had to have
Yeah,
you had to have a 35 mm print at the
yeah.
time for festivals. So that's where our money went. It wasn't transferring it back because I didn't know that 10, 15 years later we'd all be watching our films on this
Yeah,
and
but
our phones.
so many films went through the same process.
Yeah.
I was just curious as to how, with your relations as a producer, why didn't you bring it back on this old monster?
Honestly, honestly, because my career had moved on, and the films I'd other films to think about. You know, Chicken Soup
Okay.
was a period of my time and my life, and we're very proud of it. But it ran its course. It did its journey, and it reached the end of its journey. And now, and I feel that it is beautifully held in that sort of time capsule, and I love that. It's a bit like people used to say about, films that you could only see them in the cinema at the time that they were out, and it's only now that they're coming back. And I quite like the fact that it's kind of stuck in its little sort of time. There is, I'm pretty sure if I went down into my storage basement, I could probably find the print. But I made sure that everybody else, because I have the smallest house out of all of my friends that made films then, because there's one of me, there's me and my cat. And so as much of that stuff I gave back to the archive or had to go into, I'm sure it's around somewhere, but then all of my earlier films, none of them are available online these days. It's only the ones that I started to make, and even some of the films I've worked on, like Rashid Bushereb's film, Les
Oh,
Hommes.
I thought it was your only directorial work.
There was two films I directed, two
Okay,
films.
so when did you decide? When did you decide that this is not for me,
Um,
or why?
it wasn't so much a decision. I think I wasn't as in love with directing as I was with producing. And I also think at the time it was really hard to be a producer as a woman, sorry, a director as a woman at the
Mm.
time, and as a woman who comes from a minority background. So all of those things were not necessarily in my favor, and it was really quite hard. And I think I just moved back towards producing. And I really, really loved, and then, I worked more, I could get work as a producer. I could get work, working my way up as a coordinator, as a production manager, which was, I mean, I spent very little time working in those departments. I very quickly moved into producing because I knew that's what I wanted to do. And, I produced my first feature film. Crumbs, was it in 2012 or 2013? I made my first feature film. And by me making them, it doesn't mean that they necessarily have come out in the cinema
What
or been
was
released. It's when I finish them.
what was it? Your first feature film?
Uh, which, I'm about to have to look it up. It's
Well, it was like a decade ago. Come on.
no,
Well,
honestly, because I did so many back to back.
yeah.
So as a line producer, I did Wasteland, which then became known as The Rise. And then I did. I mean, I honestly, I have to think. And then I did,
What
I
was
did,
it?
I did the Pressure. That was actually Pressure. I would say was my proper first feature. Uh,
Oh yeah, Pressure. That's the horror film, right? I
no,
think I saw.
that's Don't Hang Up. You were thinking of Don't
Oh,
Hang Up.
because I wasn't able to see both films.
So Don't Hang. There was Pressure. Don't Hang Up. The Last Photograph. Um, what else was there? And then there was like literally one after the other. I mean, and I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. I
You
have been.
forgot Unreplaceable You. You were very proud
No,
to.
that was later. Irreplaceable You was there was definitely something in between. Um, the Last Photograph. and Irreplaceable You, but I can't remember what there was. There were other films in between. I'm gonna have to look up
Okay.
IMDb.
Okay.
And then
So because the reason why I kept again banging on this is that
you can
I
bang
said,
on as
well,
much as you want.
now that that you're in the thick of it, and you have the experience of working with movie stars, and you worked in America and Australia, as you said, and I thought, well, is she now thinking of going back to directing? But let's move on. The film Cake, short film,
Oh,
which I believe you capitalized on the presence of film stars, Letitia. Let me remember because I don't care because
Letitia,
what I
it's Letitia Wright,
Letitia Rice
Letitia Wright and Maxine Peake. Yeah,
and Maxine Peake. Actually, Maxine Peake is I I've been in love with her ever since Funny Cow when
yeah,
she
she's
made
great.
the yeah, and that's it. I think to me that was the again, I thought you capitalized on the presence of those two movie stars, especially Letitia. If Letitia is I think the American pronunciation. If
Yeah.
you see, if you see the YouTube comments, who's here because of Letitia? Who's here because of Letitia? I mean, it's Black Panther. You can never go
So
wrong with it.
So I can honestly tell you that Letitia was cast in that just before Black Panther, and she was on her way
Oh,
to us when she'd got Black Panther. So many of the actors in many of the films that I've done, it's been so you have to forgive me, my voice is slightly hoarse. Last week I had laryngitis, and I've had a lot of
very
sinus. Um, Letitia, so there's Anthony Boyle, who's in The Party. He's now a huge star. Jonah Howard King, who was in The Last Photograph, is now a huge star. Joe, who's in Pressure, is now a huge star. There's a lot of actors I've worked with that their first big roles have come. Joe Cole. Um, I've done them with them and stuff. I mean, Cake was a bit unusual. So Cake was the writer director of Cake was a very dear friend of mine, and he wanted to make this short, and Alan Friel, I forget to say his name. He's one of my best friends, and we Alan Friel, yeah, and we made a feature together after that, Woken, with Maxine. Letitia couldn't do it because she was off filming other stuff. But Robbie Ryan, the cinematographer who has done Begonia and Poor Things and a lot of Yorgos's films and Ken Loach's films and many, many, many films. Well, I've known Robbie for years as well. He was free, so he shot it. We shot over one day on Dungeness Beach, which is England's only desert. I mean, it doesn't look anything like a desert to me. It's stony.
as a living.
It's stony,
Yeah.
but it's a magical place, and so we shot that, and that was really amazing, and it was all shot in one day, because I knew I could get the actors down. We all came down. We stayed that night, and then drove back to London that evening. I flew off to America the next day to start working on Irreplaceable You. So that's the timeline of that. So yeah, I literally left the next day. Was so
Just
busy, I forgot to insure my car, or not insure my car, but to pay the parking on my car, the street parking, and came home to about £200 worth of car fines because I was away for six
oh,
months.
you'll do fine from the box office. I mean, it's the just for the reader to understand Cake. It's about a couple of women in tuxedo in a quote unquote desert. And
Post-apocalyptic.
well, the thing is, I have no idea what the fuck that film is all about, but we will let the reader see those amazing 9 minutes. Now let me move to I would say the last photograph and the ABC murders. And of all the works that I've seen, of everything that you've done, The ABC Murders is my favorite.
Mm.
But I also, I mean, I have to compare it with The Last Photograph because, as opposed to the elegiac tone and magisterial filmmaking of the ABC Murders, you see these amateurish the direction of Danny Houston, whom I love, and I love his father and I love his grandfather. And I don't know if it was his directorial debut, but as I was seeing, it's so beautiful with these flashbacks, as I said, amateurish, and then all of a sudden it's Lockerbie. And in my mind, I love. There's something that I've been doing for the last couple of decades. Told you I'm too old. I stopped watching trailers. So I see a film only with the log line, and there's nothing in the film about Lockerbie. I loved it. It's about Lockerbie, but it isn't about Lockerbie. There is no mention about Libyan terrorists or news, maybe in the background once in a scene, and it's based on a novel, which makes sense. Like this is the best way to adapt a novel. And then you have the ABC
The
Murders.
the novel came from the script.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's talk about the last photograph first then.
Yeah, the last photograph was really, so I'd been working with Danny on Pressure, and he asked me would I produce this film, and it wasn't his directorial debut. He actually studied to be a filmmaker and then fell into acting to make money. And that's how, and he ended
That's
up getting
exact.
so much more work as an actor than he did as a director. So this was him returning to directing after many years, and it was a story he wanted to tell. In actual fact, he didn't want to be in it initially, but then it just made sense financially because we made it for a very low budget. And he just wanted the freedom to be able to direct it in three different timelines, three different styles. And it was very important to me that the film is about grief and loss. It was never about whose fault it was over Lockerbie. And when we were on recce's going up to film in Lockerbie, and I went and I spoke to the people there, and I was very clear with them. I'm Libyan. I'm Libyan Irish, and we are making a film. It's about grief. It's about loss. They're very proud themselves. They won't show you where bodies were found or where you know planes landed or things like that, which a lot of people wanted to know. They're very, they've got a beautiful memorial, and they wanted that to be honored. And actually, it was really incredible. We decided that what we would show of Lockerbie had to be archived. It had to be the actual footage. We couldn't recreate anything. We didn't have the budget to, but like there's such a mix of different things in that film. It's very, very clever in many ways and very different in many ways. And it's truly what Danny's vision of it was. And it was so it was very important to us that everything that we showed of Lockerbie, of the what happened, was actual real footage, except for when he drives in and the police officer stops him and shakes a light at him. That is the only thing that's recreated. But at the actual Edinburgh premiere of it, and it was important that it was premiered in Scotland, um, they they there were people in the audience who were from Lockerbie, and they said it was exactly like it was. And the film is about loss, it's about grief, it's about a human thing. And all my films, even the ABC Murders, all of the work that I make, it's about humanity, it's about human vulnerability and frailty, and to some extent identity as well, or finding your voice. Um, and
Yeah,
the
no, I think that was as I said, my um, favorite thing about the film is that it's not about when I say it's not about Lockerbie, I put it like in quotes. It's not about the Lockerbie that we know from the news. It's about the Lockerbie that even I don't know if you've seen the latest. Well, that's not the latest. I don't know if there was anything before or after, but with Colin Firth. with the source material. I think that was perhaps the one that had it that directly treated the matter. But we don't really. I mean, unfortunately, we don't have time to cover that beauty. So let me move to the ABC murders. As I said, it's
I'm just gonna
my
pause for a
favorite.
sec. We're back.
Oh, you said. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to.
No, no, no. We're back. I've got 15 minutes, and then I'll have to pop back
Oh,
and
okay.
get back to you.
So we were talking about the last photograph, and I wanted to uh, go cold turkey to the ABC murders, and I think I've read somewhere that there was uh, you know how the press acts before showing any film or in this case a miniseries, 3 hours miniseries, and they were saying Jean-Marc is not the right man because because he's not American, because he's not British, he's American. Even though the character Hercule Poirot, I fucking hate French. Hercule something. He spoke with that ridiculous French accent, so it makes no difference whether he was Brit or
Well,
American. But he was phenomenal, John Malkovich.
yeah.
And what I like the most, because this character is also revisited by Kenneth Branagh, and there was a whole television show back in the 70s, I think, or the 80s with I forgot his name. Such I mean, it's been adapted so many times, but I like the fact that you know how filmmakers sort of tamper with the past of Hercule Poirot. I like the fact that you made a Catholic priest in Belgium, just again to bolster the narrative of what I said earlier, the elegiac tone, like, I'm too old and I'm now reflecting on my horrible past in Belgium. And the viewer said, oh, he did something terrible. And in the end, well, yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but you can again give me an introduction as you did with the last
Well,
photograph.
first of all, Poirot is Belgian, and not French.
Yeah.
So,
No,
and
I said French
John
accent.
John lives in France. He has a place there that he lives in. And
I'm sorry. I said French accent. I know he's from Belgium.
yeah, it's a bit like the Tunisian and the Libyan accent. It's quite different. And
Oh, really? When it comes to English, is it different?
yeah, well,
Without a
yeah, even the accent and yeah, the Canadian and American accents are different. Quite,
no,
yeah,
no. I'm talking about when a Belgian speak English and when a French speaks English. It's the same.
slightly,
It's like,
slightly different,
"Ooh."
slightly different. But I think it's also
All right.
depends on the education. But I can't lay any claim for the story of ABC Murders and the adaptation that Sarah Phelps, who is a incredibly
He's an
creative force of
expert.
nature.
He's an expert on adapting things for
Oh, she's
television,
amazing.
right?
She's
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, she is a creative force of nature. I adore that woman and everything she does. And that was her idea to make him. And it took a while, I think, to get the 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 Agatha Christie estate to
Mm.
agree to that. But they did. John was wonderful, and John is wonderful, and a great human being, and I loved working with him, and we're still in touch. When my father passed away, he sent me some lovely messages about him, um, and I think they would have got on. Sadly, my dad never got to meet him, but yeah, that was I loved that. I absolutely loved. We spent 9 weeks shooting that, and I absolutely loved it. With brilliant director Alex Gabassi, who's a Brazilian director, Brazilian Italian. He's gone on to work on The Crown and other big amazing shows. But I absolutely loved it. It was
Off the topic, really, it's completely off the topic. But is John Malkovich a Zionist? Since you know him personally.
I don't know.
Oh, because he's been known in the press that he wanted. He said something about Galloway that he wants to sort of murder him because of the fact that he kept banging on about the Palestine. Nah, it's off
I
the topic.
I
Let's
don't
let's
know. I don't know what his views are on Galloway. I know what my own views are on Galloway, and I wouldn't I wouldn't judge anyone's leaning on their opinion of Galloway. There are many people
yeah
taking the streets
yeah
in support of Palestine who would probably share
yeah.
mine and other people's views
No, but
of
I
Galloway.
thought that article made it specific when it again it's off
I
topic, but it made it specific
I
about anyway.
John is a very
That's
measured, is a very, and I can't really speak for John Malkovich, but I can say that he's a very measured, very thoughtful, very sensitive human. And my experience with him has been nothing that has left me with nothing but admiration, love, and a beautiful friendship. And yeah, I can. He's a man of great integrity, and
as I told you,
that's what I know of him. But
I personally love him as an actor, and I loved him as a person as far as I know from the interview. But you said something about being involved in writing the scripts, but in like a whole year in all of your films, how is was there a film where you had a hand in the writing process or in
oh
directing? Like
yeah,
how involved are you?
yeah, it's very different. Every film is different. So the short film, The Party, that started from an idea, and so that was pretty clear. I'm very involved in giving script notes, but the writer needs to be able to write the story. You just have to guide them to make sure that it's hitting the right beats, hitting the right marks. With TV, it's quite different. There is a whole department looking after the scripts. So I look at what's sort of, I might come up with some ideas, I might feed back, but Sarah Phelps's work is so brilliant. There's very little that needs to be adjusted from it. You read it and you just go, my God, this is magic. It's a dream. Her work is a dream. With other
Like
projects,
with all the details with the pantyhose and I loved it.
a
It's
lot
just
of it was in the book and a lot of it comes from Sarah. Sarah knows exactly what way, what direction people's eyes look as they walk into a room. I mean, she knows every single picture book that is placed on her character's bookshelves. She is incredible. But there was a team working with her to get there and a lot of conversations. So a lot of the scripts I am involved with, a lot of them I help formulate. The approach, for example, with the last photograph, I said to Danny, let's shoot this as three separate films. Let's shoot the young boy's love story as one film, and we shot that on film. And then let's shoot the scenes where he discovers that his son has died in
mhm,
Lockerbie. Let's shoot them as a particular
mhm.
film. And then let's shoot the now. And so there's so many things that you can come up with, and then Danny and
That's
I
like
rewrote.
the editing before editing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, with pressure as well. No, not pressure. The last photograph, Danny and I went up to Lockerbie, and we found so many things that we rejigged and redesigned the ending, um, and we just did it in stories from the pictures. And he would stand in the position to show what he wanted, and we would write the storyline be beside it, and we rewrote the ending in that way and then sent it to Simon, who had written the script, and said, this is what we want to do, this is how we want to change the ending. And Simon was like, I love it. And there wasn't a script for that, it was just pictures and images and story beats. So TV
Was
is
it not?
very, very, very structured. By the time you get the scripts, they're pretty much done. Film tends to be much more developed. So for example, I've taken a script at the moment that I saw as a play in 2024, and I'm adapting that as a screenplay with the playwright as a screenplay. And it's a very nice chamber piece as a play, but now we've turned it into a kind of siege piece. And that's
Mm.
taking a lot of development and sitting there with ideas and writing. And sometimes you'll come to another, like a project that I've got at the moment, um, that we shot earlier this year. Sometimes it's just giving the writer back. You've got this character saying this thing and being the kind of, work partner, and you've got
Mm.
this their girlfriend being the home partner, and then you've got this other person. Well, actually, you don't really need this other person. Why don't you give part of that to their work person and part of this to their home person? And then you've got one less character, but both of those characters have more meat on the bone.
Mm.
And so sometimes,
Okay.
and then when you get to the edit, so you're reshooting it, you're changing the story. You have to throw the script away and make it work for what you cut, because performances give something else. And that's my job, is to be that mirror, be that eye, give that feedback, help structure, but staying true to the vision of the director and the writer.
You would have you would have loved working with the Korean filmmaker Hong Sang-soo, who
Yeah.
co-produces films, and he just shoots. I mean, he is. If I have to choose an example in making a film, it's him. Like he says, I shoot in at most a week and edits in at most 3 days. It's already there. You don't need to work it up. Like let's do. How much? Because I'm confused. How much time do we
I've
have?
got about I've got about 5 minutes. Do you want to come back?
Okay.
Should we come back to this?
Okay. If it's come on. All right. I can do
That
it.
gives me time to get some water because my voice is quite hoarse.
Okay. And then in the meantime, if you can, upload it already, upload this one, and then I can get back to it.
Perfect. I'll see you within about half an hour. As soon as I'm off, I'll send it to you and I'll WhatsApp you the recording.
It's the same place.
Uh,
Okay, so ladies, not
don't
ladies.
pick on a sick woman who has only just got her voice back 3 days.
Welcome back, gentlemen and ladies. I would love to say gentlemen and ladies, not ladies and gentlemen. You know that the sound ha is the same as ha. It's the same place of articulation. So ha ha. It's the same place. It's not that difficult. If you say ha, you can say ha.
Yeah, I
But
don't have
anyway,
much of a voice, but that's okay.
right. How do you know? How do you know Khalid? Because fun fact, I've got your email through Khalid. I couldn't
Um,
get it anywhere.
I think because he knew my dad and we talked, because we were kind of in the same kind of like literary parts of things, because I write as well, but
Oh yeah, album Libya. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We both. I wrote an album Libya as well. You know that.
yeah.
I've submitted a text and a photograph, and I even made a short documentary about the project. I'll send you the documentary, by the way.
Lovely.
Your
I'd
your
love to see it.
photo your photo is featured in the closing titles.
Oh, great.
So, yeah. Okay. Thank God I'm not a journalist because I had to talk these talking heads. When I asked you about the pronouncing your name, and the first thing I wanted to ask is whether you can speak Arabic. How's your Arabic doing?
كلم شوية بس. شوية شوية.
Oh, okay. You know what's so curious is that the people who speaks to it doesn't apply to Arabic. It doesn't apply to Arabic. It applies to all languages. You say I speak this much of that language in the native language. So everyone's how do you speak Arabic? You say "أتكلم شوية شوية." That's that's the first thing you learn.
I
Like
understand
like
more.
what?
I understand more than I can speak, and I can usually make out what people are talking about. I did speak Arabic when I was a child, but there wasn't really an opportunity to speak it in Ireland when I returned. So, which is, and then I tried learning it. Um, and all my Libyan friends were horrified because I had a Syrian accent.
Yeah, but okay, let's go back because as I said, that's the first thing I wanted to explore. But it turns out to be we're both filmmakers. It doesn't matter whether we start at the beginning or the end. So let's go back from childhood to now. Your relationship to Libya. When was the first time you came here? You said you spoke Arabic as a child. That's fascinating to me
Yeah.
because you've now lost it. But how come you spoke it as a child?
My parents were married in Spain, and my mum came back to have me in Ireland, and then she took me to Libya at 10 months old, and we pretty much were based in in Libya, though we traveled a lot with my dad, but we were based in Libya. And it wasn't until I was seven that in 79 that my parents became aware, which I mean, this is all known territory, that dad was about to be put under house arrest. So my parents were keen to get me out of the country. So they sent me back to my Irish grandparents at the age of seven. And I was like this free spirited young child. I did go to a Libyan school for a while, but apparently I just take myself off and wander around the playground. And I think my aunt was a teacher at the school, and she told my mom that this is in Tripoli, that I just was just not engaging. I would just
Oh,
take myself off.
you grew up until you were seven. You grew up as a Libyan child. You
Yeah.
spoke Libyan, Arabic.
Oh,
You were Libyan.
I was adored. I mean, I would literally apparently I'd go down the street and people would call out in Arabic to me and I'd answer in English, or they'd call out in English and I'd answer in Arabic. It was like a local game. And
Ah.
yeah, so yeah, pretty much. Um
When was the repatriation? I don't know if you came back after 2011.
no,
Did you?
I never came, I never returned to live, but I mean I don't live in Ireland either. I came back for um the Libyan women's conference. So back in 2011, and that was incredible.
Where? That was Libya?
Yeah, it was in the Radisson. I was a speaker
Oh,
at that.
okay. So that was repatriation. That's what I meant
Oh
by
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like you
yeah.
came back
So and
for
that,
at least a
but
year.
I used to meet my dad in places like Tunisia or Rome.
That's what he told me. We will be going. He told me that whenever he wanted to meet with family, he couldn't deal after he got sick. He couldn't deal with the weather. So you would either meet in Tunis or in Spain. Um, but
Yeah,
so this is the thing about identity because I am a fierce opponent of identity politics, and I'm very sorry if you're a fierce proponent of identity politics. And I'm saying this as a filmmaker when say I'm assuming you're not because your films uh, don't only cover so many styles and so many stories and so many backgrounds, but they also, as far as I know, you accept scripts on their own merits, not what does this story talk about in general. And there's a huge debate here with if you're going to make a Libyan movie. Let's say you're a Libyan living in Europe. Okay, you can't make film in the country. I have a friend who lives in Tunis, and he wanted to make a film here in Libya, but he did it in Tunis. To me, it's the best Libyan narrative short film that I've ever seen. The catch here is that all of the cast, that everyone was Tunisian, so none of them actually perfected the Libyan dialect. But it didn't matter to me because what matters to me is the aesthetics, the story,
yeah.
and I really felt it was shot here. Do you feel the same? Like do you feel like if I am going to make a film about Libya, it's got to be Libyan
Well,
actors with Libyan talent?
first of all, I'd probably shoot it in Malta. Um, if I was making a film about Libya, because there's a tax credit there, and I'm a producer, and I got to make a film, with a budget, and
Oh,
uh,
that's good.
and
That's
I
very
also need to have skilled filmmakers that are making films at the level. But what I would love to do is bring in Libyan filmmakers to work alongside us, just like I've done on my most recent Irish film. And we won an award at Cannes for including people from film is about a boy who ages out of the care system. Um, and it's got
What's the name?
It's called
What's the name?
Lemonade, and
Oh, no, no, no.
It's got Barry Keoghan in it, and the big thing with that
The
is that,
one that actually that put this interview on hold. Because I remember emailing you back in February and you said I was filming with Barry Keoghan. You
I was
remember
like,
that?
I can't. Yeah, I'm like, I am so, yeah. Sorry about that. But when you're
No,
working,
no, it was good.
as you know yourself, it's all consuming. So, and like I barely saw my family. I think I slept in my mom's house, because I was filming in Ireland. I slept in my mom's house, and like I didn't see her. Um, but yeah,
Wow.
it's just, but yeah, I would honestly probably make a film about Libya in Malta.
Did you have offers? Because Libyan filmmakers get to reach out. And I have to be honest, most Libyan filmmakers make shite films because first of all, they don't read, and second of all, they don't watch movies.
Well,
And they think that being skillful with the camera like is the right thing to do.
well,
So I'm curious if you had offers like, oh, what do you think if I can make this?
I will give you, I will say, use a phrase here, and it's an Irish phrase. I will talk about the sin, but I will not mention the name of the sinner.
No, no, I look,
So
I'm too
I did
rude.
get somebody
I'm
come to
rude
me.
enough. I
I did,
am rude enough to mention the names, but
so I did have somebody approach me, and they wanted me to produce the film, and I read it, and I just felt the subject matter was so tropish and predictable, and it's not what I make. I'm, you know, you don't take, if I were to put it like this, I'm a quite a specific filmmaker. I work with at a certain level. I'm happy to do shorts occasionally. And by occasionally, maybe once a decade. Um, I would, I have to love the story, number one, but most importantly, I have to really, really, really want to make it. And thirdly, I have to really like the filmmaker. And the filmmaker's also got to understand that I'm not trying to take control, but I have got a say and I have got a stamp and I have got an input into how the film will be made and shot and look and what the story is being told. So you have to be willing to go on a journey with me in order to be able to do that. But I also won't come on board unless I can raise the money to make it. And I'm very commercial in my sensibility. I had really wanted to work with Anne-Marie Jassir on her last film, but I couldn't, unfortunately, because it clashed with another film that I was doing. But, she's a very experienced Palestinian filmmaker with an eye on the West, in the work that she does.
seen all of her film. I love Anne Mary.
She's a
Um,
wonderful woman. I mean, she bless her. She rang me at one point when I was with my father in his final days in Tunisia and ended up having to translate for me because I, I was like, it's very hard to speak when somebody is, you're on their deathbed with them, but also you lose your English as well as your Arabic. So, and funnily enough, I didn't lose my French in Tunisia. But anyway, she was great, and I love Anne Marie. She's wonderful. but you've got to really love the project, and you got to know that you can make it, because you can't mess that filmmaker around. If you're going to take them on a journey, you've got to know you can raise the money and you can deliver the film, but also that you can work with them. And sometimes the personalities just don't match up. And I'm not the right filmmaker for somebody who wants to just take a camera and go out and find the film as they're shooting it. I'm not that sort of person. I'm very structured.
May I know what the project was about? All right, I understand it. Um,
But
let's just move on to
I also had another film that was being shot, Western, that came to me, Western wise, and it was the other filmmakers involved who didn't want me involved. And I think that's because I was experienced, but I was also Libyan, and they were afraid that that would take away. I was more experienced than them, that it would take away from their um, uh, and the interesting thing for me is the more experienced you get as a producer, the more you realize the less you know, and that every film is a new learning experience. And the more people that you have that know part of what they're doing, the better. And I love working.
you said he didn't want you in the
No,
project. Is
they
that
didn't want me involved, and I think
and
it's
why is that? Because you said
I think
how
it's
is
because I
that?
was more experienced than them, but and they were
Ah,
so.
okay,
And I know what I would have done with that, you know, how I would have helped shape that film. But you know
all
what?
right.
I have a very firm view that if I'm meant to be on a project, if it's meant for me, it won't pass me by, you know? And all of those things, like the jobs I didn't get, or something happens to you weren't meant to get it because a family member gets ill or another bit better project comes along. I'm not necessarily tied to Libyan stories, but I am a Libyan who tells stories.
That's what I love. That's what I said by
You
saying
did, yeah.
that I am a fierce opponent of identity politics. Like, oh, because my dad was once upon a time a Libyan, because I think Radwan is more than a Libyan. He's Irish and Libyan. He even wrote a book about fucking Salvador.
I
I
know.
mean, who would do that? And that's what I love. That you don't reach out to all the Libyan filmmakers and seek Libyan stories. Even I don't know your relationship with Libyan filmmakers anyway. There is no such thing as Libyan filmmakers, perhaps with the exception of Muhammad Lamil and Nazih Al Aribi, who lives not very far from you. I don't know if you've seen Freedom Fields, but up until now we haven't yet had a Libyan auteur who makes feature films, narrative films, rather than documentaries about the revolution and the war and Muammar Gaddafi and whatnot. Um, I think it was in 2017, perhaps 2018. Was it circa 2017 that I met Radwan Bishwesha, your late father, in the art house. Uh, we chatted, and he talks. That's what I love about him. Like I'm a good listener, and he's a good talker. He goes on and on about everything. The second time I think he texted me that he said I'm in Algeria Square, Maidan Jazair, which is named. I don't think it's named after the country. I think it's named after the capital, Algiers. Algiers. Yeah. And we talked there for hours, and then we would take a walk to Briga Sikka, which is where the art house is. And I remember it's at the time people in Tripoli was so dull. I wouldn't be. I don't want to be so harsh, but after 2014, all the beautiful people left the city. You know what happened in 2014, right? There was a war. Uh, all cultural institutions closed their doors, and that's it. That's it. Even Khalid Matawa went back to America, and I was alone studying. The cinema club was closed, and yeah, we had a few months talking about everything, about literature, about cinema. I remember whenever like, I felt at ease talking badly about bad people because he shared the same sentiments, and it was beautiful. I just had to say it that I do cherish those months when we had to take those walks from Algeria Square to the to Tariq al-Sikka. And I now I notice that you have added another photograph. Was it there? Was it there earlier?
It was always behind me.
Yeah, yeah,
That one was always behind me.
yeah, it was
I'm just sitting more because my cat came in and disturbed me. Let's see if I can get my cat to come in. Stan, you have to.
that
I'm
photograph
very.
was taken in Tripoli in the scene.
I've got cold sores all over my mouth, so I'm really sore. I've been so sick.
Oh, it's fine. But that photograph was taken in Tripoli?
That was taken in Tripoli, yeah.
No, no, the one in black and white. Because
No, that was
you were
taken in
still there.
that was taken in Ireland.
Ah, okay, when you were still there.
And
Okay.
I have Adaf Swef's Cairo, my city. I've just noticed there, and I blame Dennis Hopper and Banipal, Libyan fiction, and then Ireland's pirate trail, and then
Hmm.
the Arab of the Future, which is like a graphic novel, which was quite interesting. Um, yeah.
And one of my favorite stories in the King of the Dead is I think it was called Christmas in Dublin when a Libyan man was taken a walk.
The Irish
Uh,
Christmas Eve.
yeah, yes. I'm sort of recalling now the story. So yeah, I just wanted to share my memories with late Radwan. And by the way, he was best friends with my uncle. That's how I got the two copies of The King of the Dead. I could like he used to hang out 20 meters from now. I could show you the room where he used to stay nights and nights with my uncle and my dad. And yeah, we talked about that as well because my city, even though it's a small, boring city, used to host these rebellious young men, poets and painters, who were lucky enough not to be imprisoned for a couple of decades or so, right? That was, I think, in the early 80s. And Rilwan was one of them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's why my parents' marriage fell apart. Those were the best of days. My parents were quite wild and quite, they had a great love story. They were utterly selfish, the pair of them, which my own mother would admit. And, but I mean, I came back from Libya and I just remember because I was always asked to sing a song. And I remember standing up and being introduced to the class and wanting to sing a song for them all. It's like all these like conservative Irish young kids are looking and going, "What?"
In Arabic?
No, in Irish. It was like
Oh, yeah,
in English. It was like when we came back from Ireland, and it was like, and they just looked at me like I was weird, and it was really hard to adjust back to this very conservative society when I'd been this kid of like this, eccentric writer and a young Irish artist. They were very bohemian. They dressed me and they hadn't a penny to string together, but they dressed me in beautiful designer Italian clothes. And
yeah. So it's a beautiful photograph that you've chosen for album Libya with him and your mom
mm,
with the ridiculous hippie clothing. And
bohemian
you
and hippie. My mother would say hippies are dirty. We were bohemian.
I am Bohemian. I identify as a Bohemian. So it doesn't. It's got nothing to do with clothing. But back then, I mean, that's the with trousers and all that. You don't speak Irish, do you?
I do, but it's like my Arabic. It's gone.
Ah, okay.
I understand. I can say exactly in the same way. I speak a little bit, but I can tend to follow a conversation and make myself understood, as I can with most languages, actually. But French, I'm pretty fluid in.
Ah, okay. You need French for filmmakers. Um, well, that's it. I'm very glad that we finally met, and I think as far as I'm concerned, I've covered. It's almost impossible to cover your rich filmography, and um, in my mind, if I have to stick the word Libyan to any filmmaker, you are at the top with the volume of films, with the quality, with the I mean, you're involved with actual film stars, with filmmakers from all over the world, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to sit down and share things with you,
Yeah.
and you sharing things.
I've made a film called recently called Testimony, and it's my first real documentary, and it's won loads of awards lately. Partly the reason why I lost my voice, because we won an Ivor Novello, and Ivor Novello is like this big music award, and this tiny little film is up there. There's Elton John and Harry Styles in a room with me, and CMAT, and all these like huge big stars, and I'm there, and we won, and it was like this tiny film about all of these women that were imprisoned, who got pregnant outside of wedlock, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s in Ireland. And they were locked away in institutions and the babies were sold. And we managed to persuade these women in their 70s and 80s and 90s to tell us their stories that they'd kept hidden for 60, 70 years. And it's probably the proudest thing I've ever been involved with, because it gave them a voice. It gave their grief a voice. It allowed them to be heard. It allowed their stories to be heard. It allowed their children, some of whom had died at 2 or 3 weeks old because of the treatment of them. And it is also showing how the state has colluded against them by not giving them their records, not paying them proper compensation. And in the UK, a lot of the women fled to the UK, that the state takes away their benefits if they accept that compensation. So there's a big, huge push called Philomena's Law. And the film has really helped raise awareness of the reason why this law is so important that it's passed. And you make a film like that, and it's a tiny film, probably less than 10,000 people will see it. I mean, it'll be on TV soon. But it's films like that are why I do what I do. There are TV shows and films that I make to be paid because it's my job and I love my job and I love what I do. But there are times that stories take your breath away until they're told. I am so proud that I'm a storyteller, and my origins in storytelling come from my Libyan father and my Irish family. And I will always be a Libyan Irish or an Irish Libyan storyteller. There are plenty of people on the ground who can make stories for Libyans and make Libyan stories. My stories are made because I have to tell them. And that is what I do. And that is fundamentally what I am. It is about identity, but it's about having a voice. It's about your own identity. So people can identify me how they want, but I'm the only one holding a roof over my head. And I'm the only one who can tell my story. My sister can tell her story, and my mom and dad, we can tell our story. And I may well tell our story one day. But anytime I look at that. There's always an ownership over Libya and Libyan stories. I don't think other people should be telling Libyan stories. I think Libyans should be telling Libyan stories. But my place in Libyan filmmaking is not part of that because I would want to elevate them and make the stories in such a way that people who are still finding their voice are not going to want, because they want to go out there and film it and find it and author it, and that's just not how I make films. And and so I'm the see it to be it. That's what I see myself as. I am living proof that there are Libyan filmmakers on an international stage if that's what you want to be.
That's beautiful. I am going to close the written interview with these beautiful words, but I'm not going to give you the pleasure to end this interview right here with it, because if you can see those clumsy words that I've just sketched
Testimony.
when you got, when you see testimony, I was planning to talk about testimony because I have seen the Magdalene sisters by the great Peter Mullan or Mullen. I'm
Mullen.
not sure. Mullen.
M
And
m Madras.
I know
Min
the story.
Fudlik.
I love
Min
that movie.
Fudlik. Mul.
Yeah, but you know the sad thing, the movie Philomena with Judi Dench. I mean, it's a good film, and the people learned about the story because it was Judi Dench and it was
The
Steve Coogan,
so
right?
the real Philomena's in my film.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But in my mind, the best film, at least I'm talking narrative films about the subject, is the Peter Mullen film.
I
That's why I
agree.
wanted to ask about the documentary, but then I changed my mind because, well, this is something that I really want to watch, but I'm not going to watch like the chicken soup. So I'm going to let it set for a moment and see. But you mentioned it, and thank you.
So
That was
so
very important.
there's a journalist that so we got 5-star reviews for that film when it was out. And there was one thing that was really quite interesting is that they say that the Peter Mullen film brought attention to the what happened to the girls in the laundries. Philomena talked about what happened to the mothers after they lost their children. Small things like this talks about the community and how it
Oh,
ignored what
I
else
love
went
that.
on. And we talk about the fight for justice in our film. And I'll see if I can get you a link to testimony. I mean, if you do get the link, it's just for you and no one else. That's the
Thank
only.
you. Oh my God! Thank you again for mentioning small things. Like I love that movie. How did I love that movie. I just love how subtle it is. Like it can't. There's so much anger, and I was really by the end. I was hoping that Killian Murphy would just explode and kill everyone, and yet that was so graceful ending. I love that movie. Thank you for mentioning that.
I think for me,
Reminding me.
the seminal films to date, it's The Party, the ABC Murders, and Testimony. And not because the others don't matter, they all matter, they all required something different. But The Party was something that I felt really brought together all of the things that I wanted it as a filmmaker to be. The ABC Murders was working at a level that I loved. I loved that storytelling. I loved the team. I loved everything about it. It was a very happy experience for me. Testimony was a film that I just felt I needed to tell. And it was like, there's no way. I mean, I have other films like the Palestinian short film that I helped to make, Blood Like Water. But
Yeah, wanted to see
years,
that.
I wasn't in, but Eurus and stuff, the team in Palestine who made it, and Haifa and Dima were wonderful. And Dima was like, I said, look, I'm not going to be on the ground, but I'll help you with the script and I'll help you with the edit and I'll help. And there was like, and I said, when I helped her on the script, and I think at first it was like she was going, because I could be very kind of, to the point and stuff. And I said, you need silences. Not everything has to be said. You need silences. Let them sit in the silence. And it's funny, I was listening to Kylie Minogue on her documentary on Netflix, and she was saying that she was like a pop singer, and oh, she had such lack of confidence in her voice as a singer that she used to fill it with dancing and dancing. And it was Michael Hutchins who said to her, "It's okay to be still on stage and sing. Just sing." And
Yeah.
that's what I was kind of, and I realized, oh, that's what I said to Dima.
Well,
It's okay to sit in silence, to let the actors do the performance. Let that come
look,
through.
you've done yourself disservice with this because now I'm going to send you my script, not to produce, just to give me your opinion. Because so many, I work on the silences, but the subtlety, because you see the thing about energetic filmmakers that they want to say everything. They don't want to take a break between, the pillow shots that Uzo did, and then there's the thing that Hayao Miyazaki. Just Hayao Miyazaki is sort of explaining what the pillow shots of Uzo were, because pillow shots weren't known at the time from Heiko, that he's got to, between the claps, that you have five, at least a second between each clap. So you have to take a break and do all these shots of trains and power lines and clotheslines, whatever kettle is boiling or whatever he's doing. And yeah, that's. I mean, we're. I was really hoping that we would have a fight, but unfortunately, we're in violent agreement.
I
Um,
think that even as a Libyan, that Libyan side of me, like 2 years ago, I was round at my cousin's house and I got really cross because they were leaving without me and I had the big car and I wanted to pick up my uncle. I'm in my 50s. And it was like, and my cousin said, calm the Libyan down. He said, my God, how long have you been taken out of Libya and you're still there? I was like, I am going to drive after them and pick them. And she said, calm the Libyan down. I thought that was so funny.
genetically predisposed to pick up fights.
Yeah.
Um,
It was,
I'm very glad. I'm really glad that for your generosity for the time and for the assignments. I think it's the first time that an interviewee takes care of recording an interview, and uh, I'm glad. I'm glad we did this, and I'm sure it won't be the last time that we do this.
no, no, and I'm always if I have time, I'm always happy to read a script. I was seeing if I can find a link to Blood Like Water, but I'll ask Dima for it. Um, I'm always happy to kind of if I can. This is not to be recorded and go out, but if you want me to read a script and it's in English, I can do that for you. I think, I think if there's a piece of dialogue or a scene that can just be replaced. I worked with an amazing filmmaker. God, it was back when I was a coordinator, Philippe Lioré. And he films scenes where he just puts the camera on each actor and he gets them to act out the entire scene in their head, just looking at each other. And he records it. Amazing for reaction shots if you've got a really intense scene.
Oh, is he the same filmmaker who shot Yusuf Shaheen and his fellow filmmakers, like is some sort of a challenge of 3 minutes films where he puts the camera and tell people do whatever you want to do,
I've
which
no
is very 1980.
I've no idea.
Okay.
Philippe Lioré is his name. It was an Arabic film that the subject was about a swimmer um, who wants to swim across the sea um, to get to England to his girlfriend.
Oh no, yeah, yeah, I've seen that film. Not Arab. He was scared. He was a Kurd. He was Kurdish, and he wanted to swim through the English Channel to get to his girlfriend, and of course he died. Of
Yeah, I
course.
worked on that.
Oh, really? As a line producer,
No, it
executive
was a
producer?
coordinator. It was one of my first films, and I mean, I'd done shorts up to that, so it was like my break.
Oh, another film. Another film that affected me deeply.
Yeah, me too, me too. It was a very moving film.
I've seen everything, you see? Whatever you mention, I've seen it.
You know,
Ah, this
there's
bloody
so
Iran. Are you recording?
I think so.
Ah, okay, because I was just no. Well, no one's gonna see it. I said this bloody Iran. The mosque is just right there. It's just torture, man. Every single day. Can you hear it?
I have a dog screaming outside and a child on a trampoline that constantly just screams at the top of her voice. And my tolerance for children has gone out the door, and dogs too.
Oh, I thought you had children. Oh, thank you.
No,
Welcome to the club.
no, no, I
Okay,
don't. I've lots of nieces and nephews and godchildren, so
that,
I'm a
that's all
professional
you need.
aunt. I
That's
actually
all you
just
need.
got my goddaughter work at the Cannes Film Festival. She had a ball
Working for the festival, or
at the festival, yeah.
okay, that's great.
So she had a ball.
It's fun.
But yeah, it's look, it's I really do, I can't say how much my Libyanness is important to me, and I really can't. But you know what?
Um,
I'm still, you know, but I don't think, and I'm being really clear about this. Had I stayed in Libya, I wouldn't have the career I have. There is absolutely
definitely,
no doubt.
definitely. Yeah,
I remember when I got nominated for a BAFTA, everybody congratulated my dad and my uncles.
that's. I mean, the BAFTA was for the party, right? Yeah, I remember because it was big in the Libyan press. Farah Abushwesha. I was like, motherfucker, this isn't you. This is she's an Irish filmmaker. You had nothing to do with this. No,
No,
because you see why I'm against this, because the Ministry of Culture, the government, and they say, oh, this is a Libyan filmmaker who did this or that. What did you do? You did nothing for Libyan filmmakers. You're only celebrating the ones that
oh yeah,
had
and
nothing to do
that
with the Libyan war.
is an international issue. I mean, you know what, the Sri Lankan filmmaker who got nominated for a short, um, got invited to the embassy, the Sri Lankan embassy, and was applauded and lauded. When I got my nomination, I never heard from anyone. My Libyan friends, yes. And my dad was saying, I'm being congratulated on the street. Is there any money in this? No, Dad.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
But, which was sad. I didn't get invited to the Irish embassy either. And so I can't complain.
Yeah, but you don't have to get invited to the Irish embassy, because for Ireland, making films and having awards is not a once in a decade event, is it? It's just it's what you do. Filmmaking is a daily activity. But for here, I don't want to look. I don't want to rant. I don't. This is not about me. But you have no idea how ridiculous, how imbecilic, moronic, stupid,
How
ignoramus.
frustrating. I imagine the word is actually frustrating for you as a filmmaker not to be
Yeah,
able to get the support that you need. I mean, you asked me if I was making a film about Libya, I wouldn't shoot it in Libya. A, the security alone would be a nightmare. And B, it's like there's no incentive.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But I'd welcome, if I was doing that, if people wanted to come and work on the film, then I'd do my best to make that happen.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just making a general, statement about the things about not only about me, but about filmmakers
Yeah,
in
and it's such
general.
a shame because as a business, there is a lot of money that a film industry can bring to a nation. Like Tunisia and Morocco have a thriving film industry. They've got,
Yeah.
they have a lot of productions that come and film there. The UAE and Saudi are now really trying to make that happen as well. But they are
Yeah, but
incentivized.
the thing is, I'm a radical when it comes to these things because I wrote an article that I also included in my book. I had a book published a few months ago. Is that we shouldn't really pander to the to those who say, well, this is good for the economy. That's not the argument we need here. Well, it doesn't matter. We just need
It,
because look, if you can't bring up the cultural forces into play, you can't. Let's make films that make no money first, and then we will talk about industry and economy. Because you see, here's the thing: it's like I get it. Like you want to compromise. Like dad, going to art school isn't a waste of time. I'm going to make all these galleries and monies. That's how you're going to convince your dad if you want to go to art school. And it's the same thing about the people. Well, films is not always about enriching your soul, but it's about GDP. We want to do good to the economy. So I'm radical when it comes to that. I don't want to cater to those emotions. Let's make films that make no money, just enrich our souls, which is I like unnecessary things. It's unnecessary to go watch movies.
that is a privilege, and that is a privilege that I saw it happen in Ireland as well. That people were brought up to believe generations before me that it's all about the art. Well, I'm sorry. It's not all about the art. This is called show business. The business becomes part of the show. This is entertainment. Art is entertainment. It's education. It's everything. I still need to have a roof over my head. I still need to feed my cat. And if I had children, I'd probably have to feed them as well. But thank God I don't. Um, the At the end of the day, it is a business to me. It's a business that is an art form that I am, paid to do. And I love my father's very, that it's a very romantic view of life to just think it's all about the art. It isn't all about the art. It was a lot about the
No,
art
I'm not saying. No,
for
no,
the
I'm not
first
saying it's
10.
all about the art. I'm not saying about. I'm saying just imagine
Might have that
a.
row
I think,
now.
I think
Might have that row.
what?
We might have that row now.
No, no, no. I'm just saying. Just imagine a place like Libya. There is no cinema whatsoever. So how are you going to convince people that cinema is important? In my opinion, you don't tell them that, oh, watching movies is good for the economy. You would tell them it is good for your soul. You people are so fucking cold. You need art in your life. I think, in my opinion, that's the priority. When it comes to making film, it's a business. I'm with you. I'm a fierce opponent of commercial cinema. I love commercial film. Only yesterday I watched a couple of stupid films just for just for laughs and popcorn films. I love that. I think that comes later on, right? After I would say I wouldn't say educating the people because that would patronize them, right? I would say that you think that literature is bad for for the morals. You think arts in general are bad.
I
Well, how can you say, well, it's good for the economy? So you show them all these popcorn films,
No, no, no.
and then
I'm not
what?
talking. I'm not talking about that. That's a difference. You're talking about exhibition. I'm talking about making. I'm talking about the state investing in a film industry that makes films on the ground and TV. That is what enriches the economy
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah,
that is giving people paid jobs to kind of work. So for me,
exactly.
that's where it comes in. Showing people films is different. That's education. There's so many, aspects to this. But
No, no, I get it. I get it. State sponsored, state sponsored filmmaking. That's great. I even wrote about that. That's essential. Because, by the way, that's the only way that cinema can exist in Libya. You can't do it without the states.
Yeah.
You can never do it. It will if it wouldn't only sponsor your film and fund it, it would also uh, take you out of prisons. You can't go to prison for a film that that the state funded. That's a pragmatic reason for you. Yeah, I'm all for state sponsored filmmaking.
And it's like that the incentives, the tax incentives, the money back, what you spend, the cash rebate. So I will go to somewhere that has a cash rebate. So if I'm going to spend, like Mongolia currently has a cash rebate. You film in Mongolia, and every pound, every £100 that you spend, they'll give you back like 45. So that helps
Oh,
fund. So you're only having to find £55 to out of the 100 to spend in Mongolia. They're giving you 45 back. And that
that's
100 out of that
beautiful.
100, if you think about it like this, £70 of that £100 that it is going to be spent in Mongolia on Mongolian things like people, accommodation, food, locations. So it does. It's a really good business model.
No, I mean that's the producer in you talking, and I do understand it. I don't know if you remember if you've noticed some of the American films that you get the logo Georgia with the peach. Have you noticed that?
No.
Because the Georgia state, when it comes to
Oh,
filmmaking
Georgia.
and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I know about Georgia. Yeah.
yeah, it gives all those it facilitates filmmaking for people even in Hollywood.
Georgia has a really good tax incentive. We use the New York tax incentive. That took 2 years to come through. In Malaysia, we use the Malaysian tax incentive. Um, some are tax incentives, some are rebates. Um, it depends on where you go. And yeah, that is the producer in me. The producer in me who gets stories told.
Ah, that's lovely. Actually, Americans go to Europe, go to Ireland, right?
Yeah, their money
Or
their
they,
money goes a lot further in Europe
no,
because
no,
there's
they actually go to Europe. They go to Ireland to film in
yes,
Ireland.
because their money goes a lot further because there's a lot of unions, and unions have like percentages on top that you need to pay, and it's quite expensive, so they don't have the same kind of union structure.
Wow.
But yeah,
Well,
but that is I was like something popped up there asking me if I wanted a VPN. I'm like, no. I have really, by the way, I've got to go, but I've really enjoyed this. We have to chat again.
yeah, we definitely need to revisit after the successes of Lemonade and